And your video is on. Hey, hi, this is DJ Chris at TargetedWest.com. This is our Sunday call. It's the 11th month, the 5th day of 2023. This is show number 85. I'm here in beautiful Lodi, California, and we're here with our targeted group, a work group that gets together to talk about the Fourth Industrial Revolution and other things. We're a peaceful work group. We don't spew out violence or have any violent thoughts, basically. And the opinions of people on the call are theirs and not that of Targeted West or DJ Chris. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Torrey. Torrey is with us. He's a TI. And come on in, Torrey. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. First time doing something like this, and I'm happy for the opportunity, to give, other people a glimpse of my story and hope. Not an official plug, but this is the beverage for tonight.
Okay.
This is the beverage, a Victory product there in Pennsylvania. And real quick, if anyone's a believer, Philippians 4:7 means a lot to me because it's about having a peace that surpasses normal peace, the normal peace between people. It's beyond that. I've been targeted for, it looks like 20 years. I started noticing the things I noticed were people doing things with their phones, jeering, looking, staring. I'm sorry, a little nervous. But I entered the
IT nervous.
I entered the IT field in '99, and throughout my job career, it's been mostly sabotage. To give an idea of how this started, it could have been a number of things. I met my father when I was 27, I believe, 24, 27. And he worked for the Philadelphia Police Department. And one of the things he told me that I thought was strange was that he said, if they find out you're my son, they're going to come after you. And, he was involved with a racial lawsuit with the Philly PD. But I'm not exactly sure. I've also heard that it can happen if you file, say, a racial complaint. Once something is submitted to the government, your name is out there, and a number of things can happen. Well, in the early 2000s, I worked for Pico Energy as a team lead, doing a number of rollout software upgrades and so forth. But after that job, it got very strange. Again, being followed, slander being put out, and then I got into something bad because I couldn't find work. I don't know what happened. I was applying for jobs, just couldn't find work. I come to know that they can intercept email and so forth. They can contact potential employers and just sabotage you there. So that I can't go on, obviously tell you each job, but it was pretty consistent behavior, just bad treatment. And again, it could have been I had to get into something I didn't like. I had things to do. I had a family to provide for. So to fast forward, once I got a government job in 2012, that's when my targeting, it was on steroids at that point. A lady that I felt so strongly about it came and told me, older Black woman, Christian lady, and said, Torrey, I'm gonna talk to you as much as I can through this. And it turns out other employees eventually came forward. I never went to HR because I didn't want to sabotage someone's job, because I worked in the state level justice department. So this is obviously coming from a federal level. Well, it got really bad for the next 4 years, from 2012, just defaming my character, knowing information about what's said and done in my home, without me sharing it. And it just built up. Finally, one of the personnel on the Attorney General side did something threatening with a firearm in the cafeteria. I reported him. Then shortly after that, they were accusing me of, wanting to go after employees, which is not true. They One of the things they'll do is they'll give you an option to get like the employee assistance program, and I will tell any TI here, don't do that. Don't, if you're going to get any help or try to save your job or something, don't go through the EAP program. It's just my personal suggestion. Well, I went through all the hoops, after this accusation. Didn't get the job back. I was involuntarily committed, took my firearms, and then after that, it's just a series. It's just been, in fact, lately, it seems like it's been escalated even more. And when you get a mental health flag as a TI, there's actually something else that happens behind the scenes. Now, in my position, I was sort of aware of some of this stuff, but I would never look directly at the data on servers, but I was aware that this can happen. So when you get that flag, it allows them to be more intrusive in your life, like they have to watch over you. And so I filed a local level FOIA. It's not called a FOIA when it's state, but it did reveal that there was an agency, but the language was, we can't reveal to break their privacy. But the problem is, I'm being so badly treated. So going to restaurants, going to any establishment, community, having your name slandered. And a lot of male TIs know one of the big slanders they like to give us, which is that P word. And I really hate that because it's undeserved for all of us. But the thing is, with targeting, it's psychological. So the shock value of hearing something disturbing like that, of course, is going to cause people to react really before they really think. And today, it's now 2023, it's still going on for me. And what I have found is the primary device that you have with you, and I know there's remote neural monitoring and other aspects of it, but everyone has a cell phone, and we carry it with us, and it gives up so much information, from the idea that we sign on to it, which gives up our data. It gives up our geolocation, the who we're texting, who's on our contacts list, pictures, and I will advise anyone never to take a compromising picture if you're a TI with your phone, because it will be shared. They have access to all devices, and of course, like your mic and camera and so forth. I have filed a report, a complaint recently with the Attorney General about this, and it is currently under investigation at this point with the state of New Jersey. And I'm originally from Philly. I moved into Jersey about 2010. So I haven't got any updates on that report yet. And of course, I've filed FOIAs before, and it's always the same thing. We can't confirm or deny. And sorry if I jump around a little bit, but in 2016 is when and it could have been before, but this was very prominent. I had come home from work. It may have been 2015, sorry, and because it was before I left the job, and I heard music playing, and I go to the window, and I couldn't locate where it was coming from. Go to the door, looking around, like, where is this coming from? And I noticed that it seemed to be just in my mind somehow, but clear as day, this unbelievable sounding music. Then I started getting things like just random shocks, muscle twitching, to go through something like this over time, it hasn't. Thanks, Seth. Um, Over time, I think just the experience alone, depression from this causes, mental health issues. And one of the things Gaji brought up, and I thought was a great question, was uh, who's responsible? So if you're a subordinate and someone tells you to do something wrong, are you still accountable? Well, yeah, you are, because you're doing something wrong. And the people behind this program are touching the core parts of your life. So, for example, um, they are depriving us of the same things that they need: love, care, a good name in your community, the freedom to go somewhere without having to worry if your food is being tampered with. And just in my case, I prepare my food at home, or I go to a buffet, or I take little diversional things to throw them off if I'm going to order something. Um, but still today, I'm getting street level tracking. The primary thing that happens is a notification is sent out as if you're a dangerous person, and they're alerting people around you, which by that alone, it would create an isolating effect, because you're not getting that text message. It would be excluded. And that's something very easy to do with technology: exclude a number, and then the people around you get that information. So um, I'll talk about a little bit how I deal with it. I am a Christian, which implies that I'm not perfect, but I do believe. And at this point in time, my view on this, I'm hopeful for the targeted justice case, but my view on this is it's more prophetic along with technology. We see systems rising that capture our biometrics and so forth, and it's like they're collecting data on everyone. So you can easily see what's happening here, and more importantly, it's happening all around the world. You have TIs in Australia, in Japan, in China. China has a very oppressive system. And I saw one example: a gentleman, his social credit score went down very low, so he couldn't even get on the local public transit. So they basically isolated this individual down to his neighborhood, or as far as he could walk or ride a bike. This is possible with technology, and it's just going to increase. Your first iteration of cameras, maybe they could follow one face, now they can follow multiple faces. When it comes to the end game, I think it's kind of simple, and the fact is they want to track everyone. So, for example, tracking every purchase. Someone will say it's better for our economy if we don't use cash, so we can use our technical or biometric systems to make our purchases. So when it comes to implants, and again, sorry for jumping around, I hope to get scanned one day, but already enough what I'm going through tells me that everything they need to have in place to track an individual or track their property, their car, or put surveillance in their home or an adjacent apartment or home. Listening devices are very sensitive. There is a gentleman by the name of Doug Jones. He has a channel called The Gang Stalking Show. And he had spoken to an individual after this individual tried to commit suicide, which is unfortunate, and I'm glad he survived. But one of the things he said that he started hearing his personal information at his job that he didn't share with anyone. The idea is that the people behind this eventually want everyone under surveillance so that they can say, see, we have a very more peaceful society and community because of that, and we all have to give up some of our privacy for this type of intrusion. So to go back a little bit, in 2001, I got my Cisco certification, and I would have never thought we would be at the place we are now. And one of the easy ways to look at that is if you look at a phone, and if you start at your address and you go 2 miles down the road, you're connected to a network constantly. And that's because the whole environment is immersed in microwaves, where it's all around us. So it would make it possible to have a wireless connection to a person based on things like DNA, because everyone's DNA vibrates differently, so it's frequency. So you could do this. And initially, the patents for this idea was hardwired, and you hardwire something with the potential of making it wireless one day, but you need to capture signals to learn from that, and then you increase from that point, increase the technology, make it wireless. What it has had a profound effect on who I am as a person. When you know that you're under surveillance constantly, or viewed as a threat, or viewed, when a body or an institution can make you feel isolated and make everyone else out to be, hey, we're okay, but you're not. That is traumatic to a person. And again, that's why I'm hopeful for the targeted justice case, because people need to be held accountable for what they've done to innocent citizens. No one has risen to the fact to be on the watch list. Look at DJ Chris. He's an older man, decent person. We're all decent people here. There's no reason for this, right?
No, there isn't, and they do it to a lot of people, to anybody for any reason, and you can get on that terrorist watch list for anything at all, just for saying something wrong on the internet.
Oh, absolutely. And the people around us, I don't know if it's just ignorance or a lack of faith, but people are willing to just jump on board with this. And this experience has taught me to be more kind, more caring, more considerate, because I know how much damage can be done with just words, and I think all of us here understand that. I can't really say. Well, let me rephrase that. Remote neural monitoring absolutely is possible, but it's an invisible thing. I have had thoughts at times, and I'm like, something's not right with this. But if you're of good character, you can scrutinize things that don't belong to you. Something is happening that's external, and you're being violated in a way. And again, this goes back to wanting to police everyone. And so the push is to develop technology to do that. I do have a document I can share, and it's about the vision of law enforcement for 2023 to 2034. And one of the things in there, in the couple pages in, was they mentioned the tracking of product, right? Because that can be a law enforcement issue, obviously theft and so forth, investigation. But one of the things they mentioned, they said, and to track individuals. So again, could that be an implant? Well, that's pretty intrusive, and you have to have an opportunity to do that. But if you can develop wireless technology that is not dependent upon maybe someone's having a colonoscopy and you get some doctor who just wants to do something nefarious, they have to have the ability to do this without that, because the whole idea would be to get every citizen on board with this, against your will, of course. So I haven't had a scan yet, but I was working for U.S. Airways in IT in 2007, and I went through one of the checkpoints, and my left leg went off, and I was just going to using my free flying privileges to just go somewhere, and my left leg went off, and I'm wearing shorts and sandals. I'm like, what is going on? And then the TSA go, oh, never mind, never mind. Now, I always thought that was strange. So fast forward, I was working on a project in New York, and I was talking to Karen Stewart when I was in the office. I got off the phone. Well, before I got off the phone, I said, Karen, I'm going to walk around. I'm going to leave my phone and see if I notice any, thing bizarre, totally detached from technology. And sure enough, I went into a place in New York, and a phone call came in, and the guy just looked like a deer in headlights. He just locked in on me, and I've seen that before. So once you see something enough, you begin to get it. You know what I mean? That something is happening that they're able to implement without technology. Now, New York, since the Patriot Act, is just full of cameras too. But then that goes back into what I'm saying. You can track a person, and the technology can determine, say, a person, oh, is he going to go straight? Is he going to take a corner? These cameras are intelligent enough to track, and then if you make a turn, another camera can actually pick up. And we're much further today in 2023 now. So
they can track you by your gait, by your basic facial expressions, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because yes, your walk, beyond just your fingerprint or iris scan, your whole body is a print also. Your voice is a print as well. So now you may notice sometime with banking, and I'm glad someone I thought I saw nanotechnology, but with banking, sometimes you can authenticate with just your voice. But there was a gentleman with UC Berkeley, a professor, that stated that we're all going to have to give up some of our privacy. And what he was talking about was the implementation of smart dust. And smart dust, it can just be all over everything. And so, for example, if smart dust was in a room, you can tell what a table is, you can tell what a knife is, an apple. That's what it would do. And you can just spray this stuff everywhere, and everyone would just be walking through it. You wouldn't even know. So I do believe they've made advances with that too. And then, of course, that would facilitate more of your connecting a person to a network. So how I keep going is, again, like I start off, I said Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. Like I said, at this point, Chris, I'm hopeful for the case. But again, this is something the government wants to do. This is a push that even if they run into a bump in a road, they're going to continue to push forward. But how I keep going is just being faithful, being kind, and looking past it in a godly way, so that my tolerance has increased for annoyances. And of course, I take safety precautions. Like I said earlier, I like to go to buffets when I treat myself. My wife and I will go. Occasionally I'll go by myself. But she's aware, and she's been a great support in this with me. And she's witnessed things herself. And of course, she ended up targeted because of me. And she works for a prominent university, and they started doing funny things towards her. But it's definitely more escalated with me. She knows that, and obviously the community knows that. Continuing with stares and so forth, occasional sending someone in, and someone may try to engage with you or say something passive that you may recognize. There was something I left out, and I have to bring this up because this is kind of important, and then everyone can elaborate, whatever they think it meant. But while still working for the Justice Complex, I was out with another government employee, and we went to Tilted Kilt, kind of like a Hooters, but just different. And we're sitting there drinking. I finished my pint, and these two, I presume they were, or assume they were agents, because they sat down across from us. And as I finished the drink and I put it down, the lady, one of the lady grabs the glass with a napkin. I said, "What do you do?" I jokingly said, "What are you doing? Trying to get my DNA?" And then she goes, "Yeah." And she puts it in a bag and just walks out. It was one of the strangest things, along with other things in this experience that has happened. Um, so DNA is important in this system, just so you know, for whatever they're doing.
It is, because, like you said, the body resonates a certain way. Human bodies resonate with their DNA, so you're correct. Do you know Hillary Clinton, Obama, and others have staffs of people that walk around following them to collect their DNA so they don't leave anything?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, to touch on something, the OSI model is, you might want to look into this, but at the bottom layer, it's the physical layer, and at the top layer is the application layer. So what's happening is that the human body, like DJ Chris just mentioned, everyone's DNA resonates differently. No, there hasn't been a person born with the same biometrics, eye color or fingerprint, iris scan or fingerprint. It's always been unique. That is an incredible thing. Well, because of that reason, the human body would be a unique identifier on a network. So at the physical layer, that would be that body, or in some cases, an implant such as Richard Kane. But at the application layer, that's how you're viewing the data or viewing whatever it is. And so to whoever the viewer is, depending on what department, the data collected could potentially be different depending on what they're looking for. It's packaged at the presentation layer and then presented in the application layer. So for example, law enforcement and so forth, these things get categorized on every single person. And then, you have other markers, of course, like your social security number, fingerprint, and so forth. So what I can say as far as in-game, and I may have said this already, but it is just to get everyone collected. If you haven't heard the news out of Kenya, Kenya is going to an all-digital society now. So all services will be online. And you can access different services with fingerprint as a way to authenticate. So again, tracking of people. But just like the good that can do, it also can serve an evil purpose, because you can then shut off someone's services. You can potentially stop their access to their money. So it is a gigantic control system is what's really happening. But what's happening to us, I believe a lot of testing is happening, and they needed a large demographic to test it on. So it's not race, it's whoever. Just last week, David Hoy, I forget, was that, I think it was on Melody or your show, DJ Chris, the psychologist.
It was on Melody's call, yeah.
Melody's call, yeah. So he's a targeted individual. So you have different people of different calibers that are all targeted individuals. And if you look at an experiment, that's exactly what you want to do. So you don't care about anything. You just care about a massive collection of data on people. Of course, some of the things they're doing are very intrusive, like in the case of Myron May, it was getting the citizens around him to harass him. This was an intelligent man, to harass him to the point where he became a killer. He graduated college, he passed his bar exam, he wasn't looking to do harm. Richard Kane, I believe, is a lawyer. He was implanted along with his two sons, and they eventually found out. But now, again, I think we're at the place now where something intrusive like an implant it's just not needed anymore. That's old technology now.
Correct. Like with the smart dust and different nanotechnologies, it could spray something on you and do whatever to your food or whatever around you, and use that as a marker too.
Yeah. And so earlier I said that I have a prophetic view of this, and I know not everyone may share the same faith, but what I can tell you, what I see happening is the foundation of the beast system is here, a global control system. And if you're not aware of COP28, you might want to look into that, and you might want to look into the Laudato Si and the Laudato Deum. These are very man-centered documents. It may seem religious to some, but it really is not. It's more about global control. And one of the things expressed in it by the Pope was that we need strong government. Obviously I'm not a Roman Catholic, but I do believe that we are seeing the rise of a beast system. We are seeing the rise of these things. And for me, I can't talk about being a targeted individual without looking at the bigger picture of what is motivating it. Are there sadistic people doing this to us? Yes, but it's bigger than them too. And for the people who have actively participated in harassing people, well, you can better believe that the people using them are aware of their type, of their character type. So it's really an experiment on everyone.
Well, they look for dark triad personalities to do this to others, and ex-felons.
Yeah. I'll give one more thing, and then I'd like to give some computer tips as well. Darren Brown he's like a psychologist and a magician, hypnotist. And one of the things he did an experiment on a crowd of people, and this is pretty elaborate. So the audience believed that they were getting to choose all these bad choices for this guy that they were tracking. And so people were bumping him into him at bars, causing all types, because the audience was choosing these bad things. So he didn't know what was happening to him. He was out with his friends. The friends knew. Everyone was in on it. So at the end of this, Darren Brown said the experiment was not on the guy we were targeting. The experiment was on you to see what you would do if you were allowed to make choices for someone anonymous. You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And yeah, and that plays into the nature. A good-hearted person, whether seen or unseen, will do good. But in this case, it's just like the executioner. The executioner wore a mask to hide their identity while doing, implementing an execution. Well, the same thing is happening here. People are anonymous. There's no accountability, and it's full of corruption. And then the consequences or for their actions affect our lives. Now, when it comes to PC security, I'm going to be honest with you. There are some steps you can take, but once your system or whatever your endpoint is, whether it's a laptop, phone, once it's targeted by the government, there's I hate to say this, but there's no stopping that. But you can take some steps. So, for example, against home intrusion, one of the things you can do is set a system password on your machine. So what that means is that the system won't even boot to Windows until that password is entered. And if it's a desktop, they would have to pull off the battery from the motherboard in order to boot past that point. Another thing you want to do is in the BIOS, you want to turn off your USB support for booting only. So this means that a nefarious person can't come into your home and boot off of the USB with a minimal operating system that can then access your hard drive. By doing that, you stop that type of intrusion. After that point, You can use in Windows 10, Windows 11, you can use things like Windows 11 biometrics, because the biometrics are stored locally on the endpoint. But my issue with that is, can the government access a fingerprint or a face print on a local device? Well, the truth is yes, because it's encrypted and hashed, but government can decrypt those types of things. But for home protection, it would suffice, because now you're not looking at a brute force attack or some attack with, say, passwords. You're not dependent on that only. Of course, have VPN. Of course, have your antivirus updated. But you may want to look into a term called PC hardening, and this is where you want to start turning off ports, potentially ports that don't need to be open. One thing you can disable on your system is remote desktop, and that's port 3389. So take that out. You're at home. No one needs the remote to your computer to help you. So you want to turn that service off. Another thing, most people, when they buy a new computer, they use it out of the box after they set up their username. Well, the thing is that that initial user is at an administrator level. So that means there can be exploits on that machine. There are things running because it's already logged in as an admin. So what I suggest people do is that they create a user account on their system and log in with that primarily. But when you need to install software, then you can do run as by right-clicking or shift right-click and run it as that administrator account to install your software. So while running, you want to run as a user. Your VPN should be one that if it, for some reason, when your system starts, the VPN should start with your network connection. So you want that set. So that
do you have any VPN services providers that you can recommend, like Nord or whatever?
Yeah, I use Aura. Aura does VPN as well as it's AURA. It does VPN as well as antivirus. It's an AI service. So obviously you're paying for this. And again, for me, it's something I did, and I can't put all my hopes in that, because again, the way Pegasus and other software attacks a machine is beyond that point. It's at a different level of Windows and the hardware itself, because you're always constantly attached to your provider like Xfinity or Comcast and so forth. And during that time, if you're a targeted individual, they can make an intrusion into the system. So I was talking to Liliana once, and one of the things I suggest, if you don't want people dabbling around with your system while you're asleep, you can at least turn your network off, or better yet, turn the machine off. It's off. Now it's not functioning at all. Again, and I don't like to sell anyone any hope in this. I'm just giving you just a few tips on things I've done. My system runs fairly well, but again, Pegasus accesses and other software accesses in a different view. The portal that they're looking at, it doesn't look like Windows. It's more about categories of accessing data and devices on the system. So it's been exploited. I guess you could almost use the term, it's been like a rootkit almost. So it's at a deeper level than just Windows only. Yeah,
sounds good. We're gonna go ahead and switch to question and answer mode, and people can ask you questions. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. First, need to do a quick commercial, and then we'll be on our way for my book. Thank you.
Are you an adventure seeker or mystery solver? Well, your hunt is on. DJ Chris's Targeted Individual fiction series beckons. Journey through The Hills Have Ears, outwit danger in The Dark Cove and expose secrets at The Faux Farm. Each book honors the spirit of its author's grandmother, the fearless Ida Pearl. Get ready for a series that's as enigmatic as it is thrilling. Will you unravel the legacy woven into these tales of suspense? Race to Amazon, Lulu, and Barnes & Noble to claim your copies. Dive into the intrigue one book at a time, or seize the complete targeted fictional trilogy set, now available at Audible for the full exhilarating experience. The clock's ticking, and Ida Pearl's adventures won't wait. Order now and be part of the legend.
Thank you for listening to that. That's for my book. We'll go switch to Q&A mode. You're unmuted now, and if you want to ask Torrey a question, come on in, Q&A mode. Any questions for Torrey?
Heard someone, not sure what happened.
Does anyone have a question for Torrey? Come on in.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I have a question for Torrey. I've got a Lenovo PC. It's got a nice big 27-inch monitor, and I've been hacked over the years, and it's infuriating to have a hacker get in your email and, shuffle your archives. And anyway, I used to just shut it down. And then when I realized that didn't seem to do the trick, I turned off the circuit breaker to the computer. And then I started getting in, when I turned the modem back on, when I tried to turn the computer back on, I was getting failed connections. And what is your recommendation for? Do you have to really just shut it down in the basement? What do you recommend doing?
Again, I'll give you an example. So let's say your TI, your system is compromised, and let's say you go to change your Wi-Fi password. Well, people say, initially people are like, I get a new phone, I'll get a new phone. But once you discover, wait, I got a new phone, yet now I'm still targeted. Or I moved to a new city, I'm still targeted. So once the system is compromised, that's an issue, because you can do a reset of the machine, but once you do that reset, or in some cases, if you do a clean install, that's actually better. It'll obviously delay them a little bit because your machine will be offline. But with the information I just gave, now your approach would be to secure it at the pre-boot level or the BIOS level. You put that in place, but then you would also do the other things, turning off remote desktop, using your system as a user versus as an admin, and making sure that you have your security systems in place. One of the earliest things I saw that let me know that someone was attached to my system was that they would move the mouse around, but not in a way that implied that there was like a driver issue and it was just jittering. This was very controlled, like a human being doing it.
I've had that happen.
Yeah, so I would, you could get with me. I can walk you through how to do some things. That's the best I could do for you. But as far as nighttime intrusions, turning the machine off is the best bet. Turning it off, because they don't have the ability to wake the machine up. This is not like a business network. So turning it off at night is your best bet.
Yeah, I always shut down now. Um, I never use Wi-Fi, and I don't have a cell phone. um, but my phone is connected to the computer, of course. And I'm probably going to take it to a computer shop in town because they seem pretty smart. And you said clean install?
Yeah, so clean install is going to format the machine first, and then it's going to install Windows or whatever operating system you're using.
So I would have thought that I'd have to just start all over again with this computer. I guess that's what clean install means.
Yeah, how old is it?
Let's see, it's about 3 years old.
Yeah, it's got Windows 10 on it, right?
Yeah, it automatically went to Windows 11, and
okay.
that kind of freaked me out. I wasn't expecting that. So,
well, if you have your automatic updates turned on, it's gonna do it at some point. So usually, after you do a restart, that's when that'll occur.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, Torrey, thanks, and take care.
Sure, you too. And if you need any more information, reach out to me.
Yeah, my email is available, or TargetedWest.com. Does anybody have a question for Torrey?
Yes, I do. Hi, this is Joey.
Come on in.
Hi there. How are you? All right. Torrey, I just wanted to, share a quick story. I was over at our courthouse here in Montgomery County in Texas, and I was trying to use their internet, and here's literally what they told me. They told me that the guest for anyone who's at the court trying to access their internet and look at court files, the guest password was hijacked, and all these networks were available by like neighboring law firms. What do you think that is? I mean, that kind of worries me that that our court systems are hacked into, right? I mean, and the fact that what happens at night. I know that hackers do their stuff after everybody's gone to sleep, right? The lights light up and they're all digging through. All right, is that how it works?
Well, as long as the system is attached to a network, you can attack it any time of the day. In fact, if it's a good system, the person, if there's a person on the system at the time, they're not going to notice anything because most systems perform really well these days. So it's not like a lot of the exploits are done from like command lines. So it's not like you're dependent on a user interface. But it wouldn't surprise me. There was a hack of I want to say a fusion center a couple years ago. It was either a fusion center or a police department. So no one's off limits, but obviously, if you're going to do that, you're probably not another government agency. You're just good hackers. One of the best hackers there around is in Philadelphia. Now the other guest networks, I mean, if you're close enough, you can attach to them. But the thing is, if the network resource that you're trying to access is specific to that courthouse, it could flag it. They may want you to be attached to their network in order to access that resource. They could restrict it in that way.
Okay, great, thank you. I just think it's a travesty whenever our courts, our hospitals, and our schools become open, markets for hackers to come in. These are the most protected places, and nowadays it's just too easy to access the court internet, networks, as well as our schools and universities, as well as our hospitals. This is a travesty. There's way too much devastation that can happen when they access these public places, and not to mention our private residencies. This is awful. This has to stop.
Yeah, It also depends on if it's a smaller county, they could actually have systems that are older, and so if depending on how those are managed, you can have maybe someone wasn't doing their job correctly. They left a port open. Maybe the admin password is default in some way. And those type of exploits are the ones you want to try first, because those are the easy ones. You just do them, and if it works, you're like, oh, I'm in, right? It's like if you have port 22, that's a file transfer port, so you could maybe drop an exploit on someone's system, and then they run it, and then now they won't even know that there's a remote connection to that system now.
Wow.
Well, thank you for that information. Thank you for your questions. This ends the interview. We're going to switch to the TI Book Club now. You're more than welcome, Torrey, to hang around if you like.
Absolutely. Thank you, DJ Chris. God bless you.
God bless you, too, and thank you. TI Book Club is starting. It's now 6:50, and the book we're reading right now is by Haisu Mai Jima, and it's about psychotronic weapons. The book is in Japan and talks about V2K in Japan. So when you think that this is just in the United States, well, you're wrong. It's in every NATO country. He goes to his landlord thinking it's a neighbor next door, and it's not. He gets voices picking on him. But the funny thing, in Japan, even the V2K is polite, but they're still rude. And he gets intestinal problems no matter where he moved. He moved to a new prefecture, and it followed him there. So this is in our book club right now. If you would like to join the book club, you can recommend books that you like that we can talk about. The book is available on Amazon, and you can check it out. Now we have an advertisement to get through here for a moment, and I'll be right back with you in just a moment.
Are you a targeted individual looking for support and connection? Look no further than TIEvents.org, the ultimate event site for targeted individuals worldwide. Discover a wide range of upcoming events, from conferences and meetups to rallies and fundraisers. Connect with like-minded individuals, participate in informative conference calls, and explore a wealth of resources. Visit TIEvents.org today and join a thriving community of targeted individuals. Together, we can make a difference. TIEvents.org, empowering targeted individuals worldwide.
Thank you, Mr. Advertiser. No, that was not made with AI. That's actual real people. We do not use AI at Targeted West, and I've had people ask me that. The book that we will be discussing in the future is probably going to be Kathy O'Brien's book, and she will be gracing us with a get-together with me here on this channel November 19th. And she'll be talking about her PTSD book, Time to Heal. She was just on Roseanne Barr's conference podcast, so that is just way cool. So we'll have her on soon. And I think we have Anne in St. Louis that wants to say her information. Anne, are you here? Anne in St. Louis, hello. Now she can interrupt when she has a chance. So the Torrey interview went really well. He did a great job. We will have next week Monica. And Laura, did you have a question?
I just wanted to thank Torrey for his interview, and I just wanted to let him know I relate to a lot of his stuff, like when somebody looks at the screen or when somebody picks up the phone and they're, all of a sudden eyeballing you, and, just how that works. I appreciate him sharing with his PC hardening and all of those little tips and tricks. I appreciate that because, the question I had for him was his What he uses was AURA. That was the service that he uses, or the...
Correct. VPN.
So that was the only question I had for him. I just wanted to tell him thank you.
You're welcome, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions? We still have 5 minutes of recording, and then we go to open mic. I just want to let everybody know that my new book, the audio book, which is called the Targeted Fictional Trilogy, is going to be out on Audible this week. It's going through the final QC right now. The guy that did the book for me, Randy Hudson, is 78 years old, believe it or not. So I hired a senior to do the audio narrating, and he did a spectacular job. I'll be giving out a couple free promos with some questions. So we'll have a contest soon, and I'll give out a couple copies. So be sure to stay tuned if you're watching this on your preferred platform, or you're listening to it on Spotify, or you're watching the archive on archive.org, or enjoying it at BitChute. Either way, Targeted West is available to you. If you need to email me, I'm at djchris@targetedwest.com. I want to thank Torrey. I want to thank Laura. And I have one more quick advertisement to play for you. And this is my second advertisement for my book. Wherever I put it. Oh, here it is. Here we go.
Are you looking for a collection of thrilling reads that will keep you on the edge of your seat? Well, look no further than the captivating world of DJ Chris. Titles like My Synthetic Dreams, The Cold War Next Door, and My Synthetic Telepathy promise a roller coaster of emotions, suspense, and first-hand accounts of the author's personal experiences as a targeted individual. Grab your copies today from Amazon or Barnes & Noble and plunge into the adrenaline-pumping narrative. And for those who want to experience all three books together, check out the Targeted Trilogy audiobook collection. Dive in and find out why DJ Chris is the talk of the literary world, and get lost in the gripping tales of targeted souls.
Well, thank you, Mr. Whoever you are. A friend of mine helped me with those advertisements, by the way. No more advertisements for the night. We got it out of the way. And I apologize for all the advertisements if you're watching the show, but those are new and we need to get them out so people will listen. And of course, my books are how I support this call, and my website, and the TI Book Club. So please support me in our endeavor to bring you news about the fourth industrial technologies that they're using on us by supporting my books and other authors like Laura, who has a poetry book on Amazon.
Hey, Chris, if you were going to suggest a book for everyone to read, what would it be?
Either Dr. John Hall's books or Dr. Duncan's books are the best, and Kathy Meadows.
And what about from your collection, like first book?
Would be the Targeted Trilogy. Definitely a read that talks about my experiences.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
We're down to 2 more minutes. Anybody got any messages to get? As Anne from St. Louis here.
I would also say the Transformation of America was a really good one. Your Targeted Trilogy book, excellent. That really opened my eyes to the Voice to Skull and helped me understand that a little bit better.
Yeah, I kept a diary of my books. I kept a diary that I used in my books, I should say. So I had all the experiences I wrote down, and Kathy O'Brien mentions the best way to go through your trauma and issues with being targeted is to write it down, not on a computer typing, but with a pen, writing it down, journaling, and then, of course, putting it in a safe place that you can hide so you can access it.
He does mention that, Chris. He mentions to write it down before you speak about it, too, so so you're not doing it over and over again. I think that's really helpful.
Yes, it is. Very good information, Laura. Thank you. Next week, we'll be having Monica on. She'll be talking about workplace harassment, and she'll be our guest at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be sure to stay tuned for her. And on behalf of TargetedWest.com, DJ Chris, thank you for watching on the video, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.